Going to take a quick break and talk about Drizzly. Drizzly is fantastic. It's the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits with delivery to your doorstep. And get this, under 60 minutes. It's insane.
Yeah, I think what's also great is you can compare prices and shop different places and get your best deal.
And you're shopping and you're doing a lot of cooking during the holiday season and you're all busy and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I need that bottle of wine.
Wrapping presents and you don't want to have to take time to run to the store.
Or you forget a gift.
Yeah.
And you need it delivered real quickly. Here's the way to do it. You download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. And Drizzly is giving every new customer $5 off their first order. What's that promo code, Seton?
FAST5 at checkout.
FAST5 at checkout. It's drizzly.com.
People like to have fun during the holidays. You know what's not fun? Returning an ugly sweater. Don't give anyone an ugly sweater this year. Give Choice gift cards from giftcards.com instead, and they can pick their own sweater from some of their favorite brands. It's genius.
Impact of influence.
While traveling, it's usually best to pack light. When it comes to money, carrying some cash and having an alternative like Zelle is a great idea. Zelle's an easy way to send and receive money with people you trust. At any U.S. bank, it's already in thousands of different banking apps, and it's money straight into your bank account in minutes fast. Look for Zelle in your banking app today. Safe travels.
The tragic story of a powerful South Carolina family and the mysterious deaths that they are linked to. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much. We are grateful for all the folks who have listened. We are actually surprised and stunned. I am Matt Harris. Across from me, the lovely Seton Tucker. You can reach out to us at any point you'd like to. The best way for Seton is Seton Tucker on Facebook. And I am Matt Harris from The Matt Ramona Show, 1079 The Mix. WLNK. You can get through the Matt Harris Facebook page as well, or Matt Harris 1028 at gmail.com. And boy, our things have been lighting up our inboxes and our phones or whatever over the last few days. Just to give you the basic picture, we hope you'll go back and digest all the episodes we had, especially when we were doing episodes we thought 0 people would listen to. Now it's a ton. And that's fantastic. We still remember, though, there's a lot of tragedy involved in what we're talking about. The Murdaugh family, famous in what they call the Low Country of South Carolina, covering 5 counties through 85 years of being solicitors, which is a prosecutor or a district attorney in many places. So they were in charge of the law for a long, long time, starting with Randolph first way back in, I think, 1905, and then his son, and then son first, and a whole bunch of things went on with that. There was a whole, you could write a whole story just about that. And then Randolph III has sons John Marvin, Randy, and Alec. I want to set the players because it does get a bit confusing at times. So you have John Marvin, Randy, and Alec. Randy and Alec work for a law firm in Hampton, and it's one of the most powerful law firms in the state. Tons of money coming in through personal injury, lawsuits, amongst other things. Alec marries Maggie. They have sons Paul and Buster. Paul and Maggie were found shot to death June 7th of 2021 on what they call the Moselle property, and found by Alec, Paul's dad, and Maggie's husband. There are other deaths where Murdaugh's name come up. When you go back to 2015, Stephen Smith ruled a hit and run, but during the investigation, the Murdaugh name comes up often. Mallory Beach, 2019, she's killed in a boating accident. Paul Murdaugh is indicted on charges of boating under the influence, doesn't have to stand trial, doesn't end up standing trial because he is shot and killed, as we said, on June 7th. And I missed 2018 when Satterfield dies in a fall on Alec Murdaugh's property and is awarded, I believe, $500,000 plus some other expenses. And we don't know much about that, although it happened on Alec Murdaugh's property. So that's kind of a background of what has gone on. And as I said, you can go back and hear the episode. So, Seton, you and I are both out of town. And Saturday, phones start blowing up, Facebook starts blowing up, etc. Take us to that time.
Well, I was actually getting ready to leave to go to the South Carolina game, so I was packing a cooler, and all of a sudden my phone is like ringing off the hook, and like, you're not going to believe this. Alec Murdaugh was shot. And I was like, what?
Crazy.
And I really honestly thought maybe this is more fake news because it can't get crazier than this.
Yeah.
And so I immediately called you, and you were
Like,
on vacation with your family at the beach, and you're like,
Yeah.
What?
So we started calling people we knew, and people were calling us, and this is what eventually comes out during that day, and we will backtrack as needed after. We were going to take you kind of in the order, chronological order of as we were finding out things. So we find out this is happening. At the time, we're not, is it in his leg? He's shot in the head? Is he severely hurt? We don't know. We know he's life flighted. Turns out it is a superficial wound, or not a serious wound, as reported at that time. It changes a little bit later. And what else do we start as the information starts trickling in?
So Griffin, who is Alec's attorney, talks to the Island Packet, and he says that Murdaugh had pulled off the road because he was having car trouble while traveling to Charleston when a truck with 2 people in it drove past, turned around, and then came back and shot him. And he reported that he was flown to MUSC, but that was inaccurate.
And MUSC would be University of South Carolina in Charleston.
Right, where he actually went to Savannah. But he's getting this information from Alec's brother, Randy.
So we don't know. I'm trying to figure out the order of Alec calling 911 and his brother.
Well, so then we get this statement from SLED. SLED says that they were investigating a shooting off of Old Sakahatchee Road in Hampton County near Varnville. They received a call from Murdaugh on Saturday, June 4th at 1:34 p.m. where he told dispatchers that he had been shot. Hampton County Sheriff's Office secured the scene while Murdaugh was transported by air to the Memorial Health Center in Savannah. And then we find out from Griffith that he called Randy at 2:15. So I think he did call the 911 before he called his brother.
Because there was some debate at that when it was first starting to come out. So Griffin, his attorney, is talking to Island Packet and some others about this. And I want to take this one thing that people seem to be talking a lot about, is like Facebook or whatnot, is why was he changing a tire? For some reason, that's been a thing a lot of people have been hung up on. There was a question, does that kind of Mercedes SUV even have a spare tire? But when you read it again, when you go through it again, people don't need to be hung up on this, because if you read it closely, it says he got out to inspect the tire.
Right, so a red light could have come on, and he went out and looked to see if it was flat.
Right. Because there was, like, people were going, they were, as you know, they were talking about that all the time.
Right, and they're talking about these run flat tires, and why wouldn't he just call 911? Now, he was on a very rural road, so theoretically, it could have. I was talking to my husband about this, and he said, well, if I got a flat tire out in the middle of nowhere, I'm just going to change it myself because I don't want to wait for AAA or roadside assistance to come. That would just...
And other people are saying it's hot as heck, hot as Hades.
It
doesn't matter because, and we talked about the photo we saw, there was no tire laying on the floor, but it doesn't matter because if you really read the words closely, he got out to inspect the tire. So he might have been ready to call somebody. He might have, whatever. The tire's flat, he steps out. So we can wipe that off of the concern, I think, of a lot of people who have been reporting and talking about, why was that happening? I don't think it's an issue.
I do think what we do need to talk about is, going back to, we've talked about this many times before on this podcast, was them police saying there was no threat to public safety. And we had, there have been reports that Alec was out at the Governor's Cup in Edisto, and
this is after the murders of his wife and son.
Right, and also he was at the trial lawyers convention in Hilton Head. So it seemed, we kept saying, gosh, if there's still a person at large who shot your wife and son, you might be fearful to be out in public.
Right, especially given that the time of death was ruled between 9 and 9:30 of Paul and Maggie, and Alec at, I believe, 10:07 calls 911. So there was not a lot of time there.
Right, like, was he supposed to be there?
Yes. So it was, as everybody was saying, everybody grieves different. So it's not really worried about the fact that he was in public. What we wondered about was, would you not be worried but
About your
right
own
out of the
personal
gate, people,
safety.
yes, right out of the gate, I think Colleton police said there's no threat to public safety. So, yes, so now maybe there was, but we don't know who shot,
Right,
what the
which
deal was.
led you to think it was targeted, but obviously, it seems very coincidental that almost 3 months to the day after his son and wife were shot, that he was shot.
Like, we're just random guy driving down the road mad at him.
It does not seem likely that it could have just been a random something.
And one thing I had talked about was that a lot of folks, or some people were talking about, get tire tracks, get some sort of imprint from this truck that allegedly went by. And then someone said, well, there's not going to be any tracks because if you're on asphalt, unless they break, there's not going to be. However, we've been on those roads down there. If you're a truck, you are not, especially if you're turning quickly, the odds of you being able to turn around and not go off the road is pretty slim.
Oh, yeah. That
Almost
seems
impossible.
almost impossible.
So you would have at least some tire print in the side of the road, unless he really took his turn and did a slow 3-point turn to come back. So that's just, and there's a church,
Yes.
I believe 1600 block or maybe 1400 block of the road, and Alec was shot in the 1500 block, so it's very close. And if you see, there's a video on Twitter, and I wish I could give her credit, the person who took the video, but the church is not far away. Possibility there could be cameras.
No, and in that Twitter video, you do see marks where they were probably tagging where there were shell casings.
Or blood.
Or blood, yeah.
Yeah. So there are marks. And there was probably, I think you could see 10, maybe little tents up with the numbers on it, something like that.
Another thing people really kind of seemed to go crazy about was why he was on this road, because it didn't seem like it would be a direct way to go from Moselle. But our sources have told us that he wasn't actually living at Moselle. He had been staying with his brother, John Marvin,
And we don't know
along
exactly
with
where
Buster.
he is. Yeah.
And he's lived somewhere in Hampton County, but he could have also been visiting a friend. I mean, we'll never know. I mean, if you wanted to be on a
Back road
for some reason, you didn't want to travel the interstate, or
There's plenty of back roads to find.
plenty of reasons
We've driven
why
around
you
out
might
there.
be on a back road. I mean, it does seem a little bit suspicious, but
I saw there was a way to get to, I'm going to blow up, or maybe 64 or something like that. There is a way to go that way.
Yes.
It's just a longer way, depending on where he started. But that I don't, again, the only reason I think people are questioning that would be if they're thinking that he wanted to be somewhere desolate. But I don't think that in and of itself means much. Okay, so that's what we get through all that Saturday back and forth. And then Sunday, it comes out that the New York Times reports that there was confrontation's a good word, with his law firm on Friday.
well, New York Times says pushed out. I mean,
Yes,
so
that sounds a
that seems
confrontation.
pretty like
That's
a conversation.
We can say confrontation. Explain what the Times and others have reported about that.
Okay, so just the day before he was shot, on Friday, September 3rd, Alex resigned from the law firm, and this is from a statement that PMPED released.
And that's the attorney. That's the name of the law firm.
Right, and the M in PMPED is Murdaugh. He is no longer associated with PMPED in any manner. His resignation came after the discovery by PMPED that Alec misappropriated funds in violation of PMPED standards and policies.
That's huge. The Murdaughs have been a part of that law firm for 90 years or whatever it is. So
Brother still works there.
Yes. So it's a major deal, and the sources that the Times and Post Courier report are saying millions with an S, possibly or allegedly misappropriated.
And they say they've hired a forensic accounting firm to go through to investigate, and they've also reported it to law enforcement and the South Carolina Bar.
That is big time. And we're taking a little break to talk about something we have fallen in love with, which is Green Chef. Seton, you just told me you're ready to go order some more, and so am I.
Yes, I love it. There's so many definitely choices, and everything is pre-portioned, easy to follow. It makes cooking really simple, especially for a weeknight.
Yeah, we're so busy. Everybody running around doing their things with kids and whatnot. So you just get the Green Chef out. It's one little bag. You're good to go. It's America's #1 meal kit for eating well, meaning the best meal kit, whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, vegetarian, gluten-free, or just want to eat more balanced meals. This is the way to go. And the family loved them?
They love them, and I don't have to go to the grocery store.
That's right. That is a big thing. They come right, and you don't have to worry about missing an ingredient. Go to greenchef.com/Murdaugh10 and use code Murdaugh10, Murdaugh10, to get 10 free meals, including free shipping. Green Chef, the #1 meal kit for eating well. I'm going to pause for a moment and talk about Warby Parker. I've used Warby Parker for glasses for couple of years now, so I'm so happy they're signing on as a sponsor for the podcast. And Seton, I know you love the try.
Yes, this is the first time I tried Warby Parker, and I ordered my 5 pairs for free, and you have 5 days to try them on. There's no obligation to buy, and they ship for free, and they include a prepaid return label, and I love the selection. I found out I have a wide face, and the Daisy Wides were the ones that worked best for me, and my husband complimented me on them, which is not like him to notice my granny readers.
And the glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. Don't let your FSA or HSA dollars go to waste. Put them to good use on Warby Parker prescription glasses, prescription sunglasses, contact lenses, and eye exams. Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/Murdaugh. That's warbyparker.com/Murdaugh. And I want to bring in our legal expert, former prosecutor and defense attorney, John Snyder, because we have some questions about how this might have worked.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Great. So one question that when I was seeing that there were millions of dollars missing that was reported in the New York Times, I was just kind of shocked. It was like, how is it possible that millions of dollars could be missing without anyone noticing?
When you have a law firm that is the size of their law firm, they have tens of millions of dollars flowing in and out of their trust account. Now, that's not money that the law firm is earning. That's money that's coming in for a house closing. That's money that's coming in for a personal injury claim settlement. That's money that clients are putting in for their retainers, for the attorneys to draw off of. And so that trust fund will have a gigantic amount of money that doesn't reflect anything of the firm's assets, but is just a giant pot of all the different clients and things that a law firm is involved in.
So let me ask you this. So just to understand it. So if somebody wins a personal lawsuit thing, or they don't get the straight check for however many millions of dollars, the law firm would pay out doctors' bills, their fees, all that stuff out of this, let's say it's a $1 million settlement, goes in the trust,
Yep.
And they pay everything out before the plaintiff gets their money.
That's right. So typically you get a third of whatever. So let's say it's $1 million. You're going to get, the victim's going to get $333,000. The law firm's going to get $330,000. And then the other stuff's going to go to cost and whatever bills there were. And that's administered by the law firm. And so the insurance companies will write a check directly to the law firm for that money to be administered.
So could he have done this alone, or would he have had to have someone in accounting or some sort of assistant help him with this?
No, I think he could have done it himself. He could, he could have submitted a fake invoice to Dr. Feelgood, and Dr. Feelgood gets a $20,000 check, and he's like, well, I'll deliver it to Dr. Feelgood myself.
Gotcha.
And he goes and endorses the check and deposits it in his own personal account.
Right. So that means allegedly, that's a way he possibly could do it. He could write out, say that there's a card was totaled, and come up with a dollar amount and take it to Mr. Joe's auto shop or something.
Yep.
And do that. You had told me at one point, I was talking to you, that when you're messing with a trust, that's a very serious deal.
So that's like the third rail of lawyering. You never, ever, ever, under any circumstances, in any way, ever touch trust account money, because that is not your money. That is the people who put that money in there's money. And so
It broke up.
Uh-oh.
Say it again.
you know,
So you're
you
about
can
to say
see-
something?
you can see how quickly South Carolina's, suspended his license just over the mere allegation that there's been some issue.
Yeah, because they suspended it very quickly. He hasn't even gone through any.
Yeah, that
sort
just
of
happened
thing.
on Friday where they reported him to the bar and he's already been suspended.
And that because it's the, in sitting in law school, basic law 101, they start drilling into you. Thou shalt not touch the trust fund money.
And when we're saying that forensic accounting, that doesn't necessarily mean it's by the government or IRS or anything else. That's just an accounting firm that comes in and tries to figure out where everything went.
That's right. And so what's happened probably is the other partners at the law firm noticed that the fund wasn't reconciling with the deposits, and so that's caused them to reach this conclusion. And so they dove into the books, found the stuff, and that's what's created this issue.
And if it's true, that's a heavy sentence type thing.
Oh, it's the end. You're done for as a lawyer.
Okay.
Right. And maybe more, and maybe jail time and all that sort of thing.
And then you're done for with the state, and then you're done for with the tax people, and then you're done for with wherever the money went and who those people were that got that money.
Gotcha. Okay, that clears that up a lot, because a lot of people were curious how the heck would he take millions of dollars?
Yeah, it seems shocking.
The law firm is also, they're going to be on the front side of this because they're in charge of that trust fund too. So they're not going to lose all their hard work because this guy's been stealing out of their own trust fund.
Gotcha. Okay, and that brings us to Randy, his brother, who works at the law firm. Awkward. He released a statement in the Greenville News. Is that where this was today?
Yes.
Yeah. He says, I was shocked, just as the rest of my PMPED family, to learn of my brother Alex's drug addiction and stealing of money. I love my law firm family and also love Alec as my brother. While I will support him in recovery, I do not support, condone, or excuse his conduct in stealing by manipulating his most trusted relationships. I will continue to pursue my client's interest with the highest degree of honesty and integrity, as I always have. Because there's a stain on the law firm, even though they might have nothing to do with this.
That's right. All of them are equally responsible for their trust fund. And so they are absolutely going to be on the front side of this to say, hey, we had all the right procedures in place, and this guy still circumvented them and tried to get around what needed to happen to get the right thing to occur.
Gotcha. And he's also, Alec is also obviously no longer can prosecute as a volunteer, which is interesting.
They've taken their website down because I guess they're probably trying to figure out a quick way to get Alec off the website.
I can scrub that pretty quick. Anything else that jumps out at you, John Snyder?
No, I think at this point the rope is tightening. The facts are starting to just roll out, and the big questions that we had at the very beginning are going to start being answered by looking at where the money went and why it was spent the way it was spent. And those clues will probably solve both the murders and maybe even the attempted murder / headshot of this past weekend. John,
thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.
That's John Snyder, former DA, also defense attorney and law expert. And that's a nice, shining some nice light onto that, because that was something I saw going back and forth on Facebook. Is like, how does he do this? And I also, well, I'll get back to that money in a second. I'll get back to my questions about the money. But let's go to the other thing that broke over the weekend was that Alec, and I want to point out that if you're reading in print, you'll see Alex, and we say Alec. I think then they say Elic, but that would really confuse everybody. So Alec Murdaugh is how we're going to go. So Alec released a statement that he is going into rehab. You have that?
Yes. So he says, the murders of my wife and son have caused me an incredibly difficult time in my life. I've made a lot of decisions that I truly regret. I'm resigning from my law firm and entering rehab after a long battle that has been exacerbated by these murders. I'm immensely sorry to everyone I've hurt, including my family, friends, and colleagues. I ask for prayers as I rehabilitate myself and my relationships.
So he is out of the hospital.
He's out of the hospital, and he went straight. I think he got out yesterday.
Yeah, whatever day we're on. But he was
Right,
only in the hospital for 2 days, maybe? What day was
Right,
Saturday
so
was shot, Sunday?
it couldn't have been that serious
long.
if he was only in the
Right.
hospital 2 or 3 days.
And people are saying, well, why was he airlifted or whatever? But it also...
Well, head wounds do bleed a lot.
That's right.
So they
That's
might
what I was
not
gonna
have
say.
known.
So, yeah, you weren't sure. And if you took an ambulance, it's, what is that, about an hour and a half, probably,
Right.
from there. To Savannah. So he goes to rehab, which is a thing that is, I feel bad for anybody who's going through addiction stuff. It is also a place, though, where you can go and, not that he is lying about being addiction, but he's not going to be hounded by media.
Right. He's focusing on his wellness, but it is a place that maybe he could reflect. And in fact, his attorney said these allegations prompted him to confront his dependency, and he voluntarily checked into an inpatient substance abuse rehab facility after being discharged.
There you go.
So he's saying the allegations are what prompted him to go.
Yes, but he said he's had the addiction long before the murders.
Right.
Okay, so we want to move from there for a minute. We're going to go to Randy's. We had Randy's statement we read when we were talking to John. So let's go back to new things coming out about the car that we're finding out over the last 12 hours or whatnot that Alec was driving.
So there was an article that came out in the Post and Courier the Tuesday after he was shot on Saturday, in which Alec's attorney Griffin talks about, he confirms that he was inspecting the flat tire on his late wife's Mercedes-Benz. He does say there was an entry and exit wound bullets, and he described the injury as significant. And he suspects that it was a setup, and then says he was very lucky to be alive.
Which is really interesting because, well, I guess you could say lucky to be alive even if it was not a major wound, because if this guy shot at you, right.
You are. And I mean, it does
But he's only in the
seem
hospital for
very implausible that if this was a hired hit or really just anybody. I was talking to my friend who grew up in the country, and she said any man or woman in the country is going to be able to kill someone dead if they wanted to in that type of a situation. I mean, it's not like you would have to be a terrible shot to shoot at someone multiple times and only have a very minor injury.
Now, we aren't sure if there was there was multiple shots? Or is that just what everybody's saying, but we don't know for sure, right?
No, for sure. And
Yeah.
I think, because I was thinking based on the pictures we saw, the little orange, but you're right. You mentioned earlier that could have been blood.
Yeah,
so
that
it could have just
anything.
been one and somebody was just
Right.
quickly. But he's either very unlucky that he was almost shot or very lucky that he came away with being out of the hospital 3 days later.
Yeah, Saturday shot, Monday out, did we decide? Yeah.
Yeah. And then he also says that Mr. Murdaugh met with a sketch artist with SLED.
That's his attorney talking again, right?
Yes, his attorney says this in the Post and Courier article, and that no sketch was released because SLED and Alec were not satisfied with the accuracy of the sketch of the gunman.
Huh. So, okay, so he's trying to describe it, and he's like, that's not it, that's not it, that's not it.
It just seems odd. Everything seems off.
Everything's odd about this. There's no question. There's very weird things that we have questions about this shooting, and the attorney is continuing to say he's sticking with it was a truck shot him. That's the story.
That he was out of the car inspecting.
Again, everybody's wondering about the changing, inspecting, and that happens. He calls. We already decided he called 911. Then he calls his brother. Also, just a little bit ago, Fitz News reported.
It actually happened as we were walking in to record this, so
Right.
we still are kind of digesting. So what they have said is the knife that was in question that slashed the tire was linked to Alec Murdaugh.
So it doesn't necessarily mean he did it. It just means
Somehow it's linked to him. So does that mean it came from his property or
he touched it after? It could be a million different things.
It could be. It could have been that it was in his car.
But it also goes to the tires being slashed or punctured, perhaps, versus just randomly. What are the odds you're running over a drywall screw or something?
Right. There was no nail in there.
Yes. And I still think it's odd to me that this tire thing keeps. I just don't think it's that big of a deal. Other than, I mean, whether
Well,
it was changing,
if the knife
flattening,
is,
yes.
if the knife was linked to him, then
what
that
I mean
is.
wasn't a big deal. Was that he had gotten out to check it or change it.
Right.
I think that is not a big deal. Was it punctured? That's a big deal.
Right. If he punctured his own tires or someone else did.
Someone else did. That's
the story.
Yeah. And here's the story that I am the first to report, I guess, is that Maggie, Alex's wife, who was murdered in June, was looking into forensic accounting of the family money and where it was going. Now, when you think about it, that's not that bizarre if she was on to the fact that he's an addict.
Right, so something was.
He said he'd been an addict for a long time.
Right, money was missing, so she maybe was trying to figure out where it was going.
Or she was readying for divorce. But
it could have been marital problems, but it could have been her just trying to figure out where's the money going.
And I even talked to John Snyder, who was on earlier, about it, and he says sometimes in wealthy relationship that is just a regular thing that happens every year, every few years, or whatever, by one spouse or another. But still. The point is that money, it's follow the money time, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of that, we were wondering where, if he siphoned off millions, right? Where's it going?
Right. We talked to John about how that would happen, but we don't know where that was going. I mean, it's reported, I think, by Fitz that it was an opioid problem. So if he's not being prescribed it legally by a physician, then he would have to.
But millions?
But millions, that would be a lot.
Right. So it makes you wonder if there's other things. You got to assume you don't take money to do good. Like he wasn't taking money more than likely to feed the hungry.
No.
Right. So there has to be more than likely some bad things that he used that money for.
Right. I mean, was he being extorted for some reason?
Was it a gambling issue? Was he in debt to bad people over something else? Who knows? We can speculate all day, and it's all alleged, of course. And I know lots of things will be shaken and baking out over the next few days.
I think so.
You have a very good feeling.
I have a very good feeling we're going to be speaking with our listeners in the next week or two.
Great. If you want to reach out to us, we'd first of all love it if you'd share and comment and rate, and we are open to feedback. Somebody texted me, or not texted me, emailed me at mattharris1020@gmail.com. At some point we must have said that AK stood for automatic weapon or something. I don't remember saying that, but a little thing like that, which is good. Straighten us out.
Right, yeah, no, someone actually pointed out to me, too, that Moselle wasn't just their property. That was actually kind of the whole community there, so.
Finding out things like that, like the River House was owned by the family, not just by Alec, things like that. So we're well open. We know we don't get every darn thing right, and we'd love to hear from you. Seton Tucker on Facebook, Matt Harris, 1028@gmail.com, and also Matt Harris from Mix 1079 Mornings with Matt and Ramona. We are out. Any final thoughts other than we're going to talk to you real soon, I bet. Thanks, Seton. All right. Thanks again, everybody. We'll talk soon.
There's a reason people head home for the holidays. It's the most special time of year to gather with the ones we love. And home is where all the holiday magic happens, from family feast and exchanging gifts to toasting the new year. Ashley Home Store encourages you to celebrate the magic of home this season by decorating to the nines, spreading good cheer, and enjoying all the comforts home has to offer. They also invite you to visit your local home store or ashleyhomestore.com to get your home holiday ready. Ashley Home Store. This is home for the holidays.
While traveling, it's usually best to pack light. When it comes to money, carrying some cash and having an alternative like Zelle is a great idea. Zelle's an easy way to send and receive money with people you trust. At any U.S. bank, it's already in thousands of different banking apps, and it's money straight into your bank account in minutes fast. Look for Zelle in your banking app today. Safe travels.